So guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to do the base for the Carnosaur. We're doing a woodland base. If you want something foresty, woodland, that type of scenario, stick around. I'm going to show you how to do it. Nice and easy. So first of all, this base was textured with Vallejo thick mud. That's what you can see the texture. I did that off camera earlier on. And the rune stones I carved myself out of some cork, and then I just glued them on, super glued on. So the step you're about to see now is just literally contrast paint, gore grunter fur all over the texture. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I've switched brush to a bigger brush halfway through. This doesn't need to be neat. You just slap it on, use a big brush, get it all over, job done. For some reason my camera didn't film this section, but I put a light dry brush over the top of the gore grunter brown with Vallejo bone white light dry brushing all over. Then I painted all the stones with a mixture of the same bone white with some Citadel Dawnstone grey. Next we did some dry brushing all over the brown with some Vallejo game colour goblin green. To do the dry brushing, just get some paint on your brush and then wipe most of the paint off onto a paper towel or a piece of cardboard or something. And then when there's only a little bit left on your brush, gently brush it back and forth across the raised surfaces. Next, you do exactly the same dry brushing technique on the stones with the bone white again, and then we're going to follow that up with a wash of Citadel Nuln Oil, quite a heavy wash. You might think it looks quite drastic at first, but don't worry about that. Once it dries, it's not as harsh, and we're going to highlight it back up anyway. Finally, we're going to run over it again with another highlight of bone white and then a little highlight of green and a grey, and just alternate between the three until you find a result that you're happy with. It doesn't matter too much because most of this is going to be covered up anyway. It's just to give it a little bit of detail underneath. Once you're happy with the result of your rocks and your dirt, it's time to move on to the actual fun bit, the bit that brings it all together and makes it look awesome. And this is your grass, your tufts, your mosses, all the stuff that makes it look really cool and makes it look like a woodland. Okay, it's time to break out the old watered down PVA glue and just start slopping this on. Make sure you do it in random places. You don't want any kind of symmetry or a pattern. Nature is rarely like this, so make sure you put them in random places. Pick a few spots, and then we're going to add our flock to these spots. Just sprinkle it on. I always do mine over the top of my flock case just to keep the mess to a minimum. And then all you got to do is tap off the excess and let the glue do its thing. We interrupt our regularly scheduled programming to bring you a quick word from our sponsors. No, I'm only messing. I haven't got a sponsor. I am doing a video though where I react to other people's minis, so you guys can send a mini into to my email address, which is here, and I will put it on my next video. I will react to it, give feedback, and just generally showcase your minis. If you're interested, there's a link down below. You can follow that, send your minis in. Back to the video. Next up is the static grass. No real secret here either. Just slop down some of that watered down PVA glue. Again, pick the patches you want, sprinkle it over the top, and then knock off the excess. I like to do a few patches at a time, see how they look, and see how it looks to me, and then decide where my next few patches are going to be. With static grass, if you haven't got a static grass applicator, which I haven't because it's money in it, what I tend to do is I turn the model completely upside down and tap it from underneath, and then that way it pokes the grass up a little bit and makes it look a little bit more realistic. Right, super glue time. This is probably the bit that brings it together the most, I think. This is your tufts. So I've got a couple of different colours here. I've got some dark green tufts, I've got some light green tufts, and I've also got some yellow flowers. To start with, I'm just going to put a dab of super glue down and put my dark green tufts where I want them. Again, remember, this is supposed to look natural. You don't want a pattern, you don't want symmetry. Just think where it looks good, look for a space and drop it in. One thing I will say is the dark green is really good to break up the colour. So the flock and the static grass are both light green colours. So you can use the dark green tufts to break up that sea of light colours if you like. So put a bit of contrast in there. Another thing you can do if you're a bit unsure of where to put things is just bring up some Google images or go in the woods and just look around, have a look at nature, see what it looks like. Here we're getting some more tufts, put some light green ones this time. Just find some spaces you like, put them in there. The good thing about working with bases over working with miniatures is you don't have to be perfect with everything. In fact, it looks better if you're not. Be a bit sporadic, put them around whenever you want. Now again, talking about contrast, I'm going to use some of these yellow tufts here, the flowers, just to break up that monotony of green. Plus, yellow's my favourite colour, so it's always nice to add a bit of that into the base. The process of doing a base can be somewhat repetitive. The stage is the same. So like here, for example, I think, oh, well, a little bit more static grass would be nice here. So we'll go back to the static grass. Then I might think, oh, maybe a tuft here. So I'll go back to the tufts. It's not as sort of linear as the model painting is. You know, you're back and forth all the time. One thing I normally do before I put any of the PVA and the tufts and the grass and all the rest of it on is paint the rim black. I forgot to do it this time, so I remembered halfway through, so I'm painting the rim black. Okay, so this next section is really quite technical, and be ready for this. You've got to go in your garden and get some sticks. That's it. Get some sticks at your garden. Once you find some sticks you like, that are a nice size, just pick them up, put a little bit of super glue down where you want them, and just super glue them into place. You can paint these sticks, depends what colour they are really. Usually I paint sticks, but these look quite good as they were, so I just left them as they were and I've just glued them on. It's always a good idea to just do a little bit of a dry fit first, look at where the stick is, or any terrain that you put down really. Look at how it looks. If you like the look of it, then you can super glue it into place. Don't just put the super glue down and then throw the stick in, because you might not like the placement and then it's too late. Just placing the final tufts now, just to make sure I like the composition of the overall base, and then we're going to move on to the lichen. Okay, so lichen's pretty cool stuff. It looks really good, but it's quite difficult to work with. It's hard to make it stick. So I generally use super glue or PVA glue. But to be honest, both are quite tricky to make the lichen stick. You just got to persevere with it and hold it in place while it locks tight. I generally like to treat this like vines or small bushes. For the purposes of this base, we're using it more like vines, so I'm putting it in the crevices of the rocks and along the rock faces going down to the floor to look like it's grown up and it's overgrown. Shows a bit of age. And the final touch, or the pièce de résistance if you prefer, the thing that really puts the icing on the cake, in my opinion, are these mushrooms. I make these mushrooms myself and they're really easy to make. If anyone's interested in how to make them, drop a comment below and I will endeavour to make a video about how to make these mushrooms. They're really simple, but they're really effective and they look really good. They also add a bit of a splash of colour to the base. Obviously most of the base is earthy tones. You got the grass and all of the greens, a bit of brown. Obviously we've got the yellow with the pop of colour, but I paint these mushrooms red in that sort of classical toadstool red with white spots. It just gives that little bit of extra colour, a bit of contrast in the base. That's it guys, nice and easy. Easy to do but looks brilliant when it's done. If you do want to be part of that video and you want to showcase your mini, I'll leave the email in the description. You can check that out. And until the next one guys, take it easy. Laters.
Big reveal.